All right, fellas, welcome to the lesson 6 of Psychology of Trauma, Waking the Tiger. Today we will be reading chapters 4, 5, and 6. There's a change in the date of the exam. It's not next week, rather it's December 16. So today, November 25, we're doing chapters 4, 5, 6. Next week, December 2, chapters 7, 8, 9. The following week, December 9, will be chapter 10. And the midterm will be on December 16th. And we will cover all 10 chapters from 1 to 10. All right. So, understanding trauma in today's society. In today's society, trauma is very, very prevalent. Most of us, we are not even aware that we have trauma, but without even knowing, it pushes us to the brink of madness. In the book, it mentions that 75% of all problems that we take it to the doctor, they're psychosomatic. And the medical science is trying to find a way to suppress the symptoms. Many people who are healthy at some point, they have to go to the doctor for something related to trauma or symptom of trauma. Now, oh, Gloria is in the house. Hello, Gloria. So what are the things that do traumatize us? Just a general list of what was given in the book is: when we lose someone that we love, any kind of natural unexpected disaster, any kind of violence, that can be physical, that can be emotional, that can be mental, that can be sexual, any kind of neglect, either in the childhood or adulthood, any accidents, witnessing accidents. You don't have to be in an accident, but witnessing an accident can be traumatizing. Or being rejected, being excluded, being not accepted. All these events can be traumatizing to us. So trauma doesn't have to be a big event. Even small events that occur frequently can traumatize us. In the book, it talks about the old world and the new world. Back then, when we lived more in the nature, we were more connected to the nature and to our bodies. The life was full of dangers. Our nervous system was designed to react to these threats and dangers immediately. We would collect roots and fruits and vegetables to eat. We would run after animals to hunt them. We were so much in movements and so much in our bodies. And we were in much more of a connection with the nature. But in the new world, today we have closed ourselves into buildings. We have created fake suns. Our balance of day and night is all disturbed. Our circadian rhythms are unsynchronized. We have social needs, but we try to satisfy our social needs by staring into these little devices, little screens. We don't have a lot of trees and grass and mountains and rivers next to us. Our bodies are stuck in cities that are made of cement, iron, asphalt, big buildings. So there's nothing that's reminding us of what nature is about. And most importantly, our ability to stay alive depends on our ability to use our neocortex, not our bodies. We have to learn to suppress our instincts, our animal nature, We have to learn how to become politicians, right? We have to become strangers to ourselves. Remember, Peter Levine talks about the human animal in the book, that we have to experience our animal sides, otherwise we cannot become humans. But the more we neglect our animal side, the more we deny our animal side, the more we go into depression and anxiety. The society's perspective on trauma is very disturbing as well. People have ideas about how we should feel and how we should behave. When our nervous systems are in disorganized mode, it's very difficult for us to behave in a normal way. But the society expects us to behave in a certain way, and there are a lot of pressures on us. We are expected to live with the symptoms or use some medications with the symptoms. We get told that we are sick, that we have a problem, that we have to fix the problems. Hearing these things from the society makes us feel desperate. Usually the symptoms of trauma are misinterpreted by the people around us, and this misinterpretation leads to more and more suffering. Now, the book talks about what determines how much we get traumatized in front of situations. Let's say, Ege and I, we are walking on the street and a dog comes. Seeing a dog can have a different effect on me and have a different effect on Ege. Or Gloria has a car accident, I have a car accident. We both get traumatized in different levels. What determines how much I get traumatized? Chapter 4 talks about that in great detail. I'm going to touch on it kind of briefly to tell you the important points. One is the event itself. How threatening was the event? How long was the event? Was this a one-time event? Was this a recurring event? The lifestyle of the person that experiences a traumatic incident. How fit are we psychologically? How fit are we physically? How much stress are we carrying in the time of trauma? How much resources do we have socially around us? Our physiological properties. Usually, the earlier we experience traumatizing events, the more prevalent and the stronger it is. The more time you spend on this planet, the more you learn how to deal with stressful situations. Therefore, children and young people, they get traumatized more than older people when they experience the same kind of situations. Babies and children, they get traumatized much more deeply. How does the person perceive himself or herself in terms of their strength? How confident do I feel in myself about my ability to encounter trauma and cope with it? How many resources do I have? How much access do I have to my resources, right? Do I have internal resources? How is my psychology? How is my ability to get back up from things and then move on? How are my outside resources? How are people around me? Do I have economic resources? Do I have food resources? All these resources, they also play an impact, a factor into whether I get traumatized or not. And also past traumas. Have I had a lot of traumas in the past? Have I been able to heal from them and became stronger? Or this is the first time I'm experiencing something so intense for my nervous system. All of these factors play into how much trauma you experience in your life. Now, this is all in chapter 4. In chapter 5, there's an interesting discussion about medical approaches, the Western approaches versus shamanic approaches. The book talks about how the mainstream Western approaches to trauma is about an attempt to determining and labeling the impact of trauma. It's all about diagnosing. You know, you have obsessive compulsive disorder, you have bipolar disorder, you have borderline personality, you have schizophrenia, you have depression, you have anxiety, you have attention deficit disorder. It's all about labeling it, defining it, and fixing it. Whereas in shamanic culture, the impact of trauma have been accepted long ago, right? We all get traumatized in face of many, many events, accidents, betrayals, separations, deaths, um, and even misunderstandings can traumatize us. So in shamanic cultures, trauma is seen as not as a individual concept, but a societal concept, but a collective concept that everybody experiences, right? So the healers, different than the Western understanding, instead of fixing something, they work on catalyzing the human's natural healing force on the inside. So they believe that we get through trauma, but we have a healing force on the inside, and shamans, they try to awaken that force by using rituals. And in rituals, they use drums, they use music, dancing, songs, trance, different plant medicines that change your perception of things, that change your moods. They use a lot of collective movements, a lot of everybody getting together, touching each other, crying, dancing, moving, laughing with each other. So they use a lot of the tribe in order to heal trauma. And usually after the ceremonies, you see a lot of individuals shaking, trembling, cathartic, a lot of catharsis. It's similar to the catharsis that animals go through after they go through traumatizing incidents. So the role of the healers, different than the role of the doctors in Western society, in the shamanic culture, is to trigger the healing force inside you, is to catalyze the healing force inside you, right? And healing happens in relationship to others. Guess why that is? You know, we have spoken about that many times before, that healing does not happen in isolation on your own, but it happens in relationship to other people. Why? Because we are mammalians and we function in relationship to other people, right? So we get hurt in relationship to other people and we heal in relationship to other people. Which brings us to the discussion of responsibility. We all have to take our own responsibility about healing our traumas. We have to do this for ourselves and for the tribes that we belong in, right? We have to understand that we do need each other and that we cannot isolate and try to heal. And that's kind of what therapists do, right? When someone comes to your consult, when someone comes to your clinic and asks for help, it is their attempt to get into a relationship with someone who will see them, who will hear them, who will feel their pain, who will understand them, who will tell them that, hey, it's okay, there's nothing wrong with you. I understand what you're going through. It's a very difficult time. I would be going through the same difficulty if I were you. So being seen, being included is the first step to healing your traumas. So therapists in society, in a sense, have this role of helping the person connect to other humans by modeling a healthy, good relationship. Any questions up to this point? Anything you'd like to share or ask? No, it's clear? Okay. Which brings me to the next point about being strong. When in the ancient culture, when someone is depressed, someone is anxious, someone is having problems, they share it with their families, with their friends, with the tribes around them. And then the tribes, we know that this person needs healing, and we all engage in healing this person. But somehow in our culture these days, there's this tradition about being strong, you know, that these symptoms that I was talking about, they are being perceived as weaknesses, right? That we need to be strong, that we need to move on despite all problems. Thank you, Jayla. These are the messages that we get from the society. Be strong, stand up straight. Even if you have a problem, do not show them you're weak. Don't show them you're crying. Never give up. When someone dies, don't die with them. Man, don't cry. Always be the best, right? So, winning the wars, winning the battles without scars, using our neocortex to find solutions, these are kind of now requirements to get people's respect and to get people's acceptance in our culture. And there is an absurd admiration to superpowers, to supernaturals, to artificial intelligence. I'm looking at the movie industry, especially over the last, I don't know, 10 years, maybe 15 years, less than 15 years. There are so many superhero movies. It's unbelievable. I don't understand it. 15, 20 years ago, or when I was a teenager, there was one Superman, and that's it. And this guy was flying around the earth and shooting beams out of his eyes and whatever he was doing. There was one Spider-Man and nothing else. But now you look at these new movies, we don't have enough superheroes. The movies are filled with heroes. The mutants, the heroes from other planets, the heroes with absurd powers, and there's this absurd admiration towards heroism, and it's expected in a very subliminal message that we all are heroes. And this is an absurdity, and there is a cost to this absurd belief, right? We somehow feel like we have to walk around like heroes, especially in the age of social media, right? Social media means my life is going horribly. I'm depressed, I'm anxious, but I have to show that my life is going fantastic. I'm on the beach, I'm smiling, I'm with my friends, I know what I'm talking about. I'm going to say these words full of wisdom. Although I'm suffering on the inside, on the outside, I'm a superhero, right? This is the world of social media. And these beliefs or these forces are unfair to the nature of the humans, right? We feel like we have to be some kind of powerful uh, force heroes. And we have to understand the cost of this on the human psyche. Because the displays of power, while we are disconnected to what's going on inside us, it's nothing but delusions, right? Without understanding what is going on inside us, without feeling our pain and our sensations and our experiences, the the heroic displays, the heroic facades are just delusions, and they're funny. And the impact of trauma can go worse and worse and worse, and they become more chronic if we ignore them. I had a friend, her name is Esra, and she was a anchor woman. She was presenting to news in NTV. It's a very high pressure job, and she was telling me about her experiences where she worked there for more than 10 years. She was saying that the last 3-4 years it was getting so hard that she would have panic attacks right before the broadcasting started, right? They would get the camera ready, and right before they would go online, she would start having these panic attacks. She would have to go to the bathroom and get a hold of herself and come back. Imagine the cost of this experience on your nervous system, on your body. Your body is screaming with fear and pain, and you have to tell your body to shut up, and you suppress everything, you repress everything, and you have to smile, right? There's a big cost on the nervous system of being heroic. In that sense, the unexpressed reactions frozen inside our autonomous nervous systems are waiting to explode like a time bomb. That's the last point of the slide. I'm going to repeat this. When you have reactions that you haven't been able to feel, that you haven't been able to process, that you haven't been able to express, right? These frozen, unexpressed reactions, they are waiting inside your nervous system like a time bomb waiting to explode. That's why a lot of people have anger explosions, or they go into freezing moments, or they feel like they have to run, right? They have all these symptoms that they're very hard to explain, and we experience them, right? So the real heroism isn't to show how strong you are while you're suffering. The real heroism is to be able to share what you're experiencing with the people around you while showing vulnerability, right? The real responsibility, the real strength is to take responsibility of your experiences, not trying to boost anything on Instagram or to your friends or to your neighbors. So this is from all chapter 5. Any questions from chapter 5? Are things clear? All right, great. So chapter 6 is a rather complex and a difficult chapter, and we've been talking for what, 30 minutes. Why don't we take a 5 minutes break, and we will be back at 49 past, 5:49. Okay, let's all take 5 minutes break, get a breath of air, drink a glass of water. We'll be back in 5 minutes in 5:49. All right, welcome back. Now, we're going to talk about chapter 6. To me, this is one of the most important chapters in the book. I would recommend you read it, not just for the test, but carefully for yourself as well. And my Turkish students, if you get the book in Turkish, that would be great. Read this chapter carefully. It's a very educational chapter. What is sensation? The perception of sensation. Now, we can work with trauma either directly or indirectly. What does that mean? Working with trauma in a direct way is working in a cognitive way. That means that the client will be remembering the trauma, we will be remembering the events, we will be telling the events, and we will be talking about the events and the narration of it. Whereas indirectly working with trauma is that the client will talk just a little bit about the event, but and then we will go to the body level and work with sensations. Sensations meaning the reflection of the trauma on our bodily sensations and our nervous systems. Now, what are sensations? When we have any experiences in life, these experiences are reflected in our bodies. It's a rather difficult concept to grasp, but um, whatever we go through in life, I see a friend, my body releases oxytocins, I feel happy. There's a certain signature that I sense in my body of what is happiness. I see someone that I don't like, my body releases adrenaline, cortisol. It restricts the serotonin, dopamine. There's a certain sensation in my body that I feel, right? There's a certain signature. So whatever experience I'm going through in my life, my body reflects it in terms of sensations. Sometimes I will feel more spacious. Sometimes I will feel more pressure in my body. Sometimes I will feel vibrations, tinglings, certain currents of movements in my body. These are different than emotions, sensations in the body. There are constant flux of sensations in the body, and this is what my body's experiences being expressed to my consciousness. Um, when we have any experience in life, we feel sensations in our bodies. And the same thing is when we have any traumatic experiences, we feel sensations in our body. So the trauma happens in sensations in our body. The healing of trauma happens also through sensations of the body, right? Our life experiences manifest in our bodies, either by external information or by internal information. When I see a friend, when I see a movie, when I eat something, there's a certain information that comes in my body, and there's a certain sensation, a flow of information from the outside. Or I don't have to have any outside information. There's a certain inner awareness that we feel at each moment through the sensations of our bodies, right? In in somatic psychology, in body-oriented psychology, we do work with individual sensations in the body. What are you sensing right now in your body? What are you noticing right now in your body, right? There are always something going on in your body. It's just a question of how aware you are of what's going on. Because our attention, it's like a flashlight, right? It's like light. Wherever you look, wherever you point, that's where your attention goes. And our attention in the contemporary world is always on the outside. We're always doing something. We're always watching something. We're always fixated on the outside. But when we turn our attentions on the inside, we start to listen to the experience of our bodies. The book talks about sensations as an ever-changing structure, nuance of moving sensations. It's never constant, it's never stable. So if you take a moment to bring your attention to your body right now, what are you sensing around your chest, around your belly, around your arms, around your head, your shoulders? What you're sensing right now will be different in 2 minutes. It was different in 5 minutes before. So our sensations in our bodies are constantly changing according to the experiences that we're having. It's a little bit of a complex concept to explain and understand because we've never been trained in looking at our emotions. We've always been trained in thinking about things, not sensing things. Now, the last point in the slide, there's also emotions. That's a little different than sensations. Emotions and feelings, they may make up only a part of the world of the sensations. Emotions are more categorical and they're easier to define. I'm upset. That's an emotion. I'm sad. That's an emotion that that's identifiable. I'm scared. I'm disgusted. I'm sexually aroused. All these emotions, they're easy to identify. But when you're going through stressful situations, for example, the type of pressure that you feel around your chest, the type of restriction you feel around your throat, the type of tingling and vibrations that you feel around your head, all these are sensations that include emotions, but they're not only emotions. Emotions are only a part of the sensations. Now, the Western culture has thought to interpret all experiences in a cognitive way. So when we when we live any experience, we interpret these experiences by reading, by writing, by trying to learn, by talking about them, calculating, planning, measuring, narrating, thinking. We're not really familiar with listening to what is going on in the body. We're not really familiar with developing awareness, feeling our sensations, processing our emotions, right? Um, you hear these big words, uh, trust your intuition, trust your internal voice. The sensations that I'm talking about is the medium with which you can listen to your own internal voice. Because we have been living so far away from our internal sounds and sensations, it will take a while to get into them, to learn how to access them again. Now, if you remember from the book, you probably haven't read it, but Peter Levine talks about a few exercises. He gives a few exercises. In one, you go to the shower and you pick up the shower head and you gently get it closer to your hand and start to feel the sensations of the water on your hand. And then you move it to your arm and you start to feel the sensations of water on your arm. And then you move it to your shoulder and to your back and to your legs. So there's an exercise about connecting to the sensations in your body again. and it stimulates these sensations by outside forces, so they're much easier to feel. Right? Now, in order to listen to the voice of our organism, we have to learn how to use our sensations. And it's a long and a slow process. There are a lot of cultures in which meditation is a part of life, in which yoga is a part of life. More in the Eastern cultures, in Thailand, in India, when you have a conversation with a local person, often they will talk about, oh, I wasn't very aware of my actions today. Or 3 days ago, I had a very precise awareness of what's going on. They talk about body sensations. They talk about consciousness much more, right? That is connecting to the way the organism expresses itself. And the organism, which means the body that you're living in, has only one way of expressing its experiences, and that's by sensations, right? So, why are we talking about these sensations? Because when you have a traumatizing experience and when you are traumatized, your body lets you know what's going on through sensations of fear, of, of anger, of pressure, of restriction, right? So, in order to be able to work with trauma, we need to be able to understand the sensations. Right? Somehow we have forgotten the nature. Nature has not forgotten us. We have forgotten that we are a part of nature. In the book, Peter Levine talks about the difference between humans and animals again. And it says that the humans are the only organisms that carry long-term trauma because we are so far away from our internal nature and being connected to ourselves. Things happen and things get locked on the inside and we carry long-term trauma. Whereas animals outside in the nature, they go through violent experiences. You know, they get attacked by predators, they get drowned in rivers, they have to walk many hundreds of miles to get to the food and to get to the water, and they die from starvation, and they live such difficult lives, but no animals carry trauma because they are connected to the nature. Whereas humans, the smallest things, we don't know how to discharge the energy and trauma gets locked into our bodies. The only place animals show long-term trauma, sadly, is in laboratories where animals get taken in by humans into laboratories and they're being used for experiments. That's when animals carry trauma because they don't have the natural habitat to be able to move in the way that they want. So again, this is kind of a complex concept to explain, but because we experience life through our bodies, and bodies have only one language to express their experiences to our minds, to our consciousness, and it's sensation. This is a very important concept to understand. Again, it's chapter 6, and it's one of the more important chapters in the book. I would recommend that you read it very carefully, not only for the test, but also for your life as well. This is all I have for today, fellas. Any questions, anything you'd like to ask, anything you wonder, anything you'd like to share? You're welcome, Elif. All right, welcome. Oh, Nadia is here. Lovely Nadia. Nadia says that she has been to Bears Rehabilitation Center who were released from circuses. And they have been repeating the same movements, for example, as if still walking on hot coals. Isn't it about their trauma? Yes, yes, yeah, exactly, yes. Bears actually live very difficult lives in the nature on the outside. They have to fight for their territory, they have to fight for their positions in the dominance hierarchy. They have to fight for food. Sometimes they starve to death. Sometimes their tribe member get captivated by other wild animals. It's a very traumatizing life on the outside, but they do not get traumatized because they're in the nature and they can move as they please. But bears in circuses, they're tied up. They have to perform in certain ways. If they don't, they get punished over and over and over and over and over again. Just like humans, if we don't perform in the way that is suitable to our society, we get punished. So we have to learn by negative reinforcements to 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 be a certain way, and that's the same thing with circus animals, right? So they get conditioned to behave in a certain way so that they can avoid pain, or they can eat so they can avoid punishment. So their muscle memory, their brains memorize ways of being, and then even when they get released from the circuses, they still carry those trauma a long time in their bodies. It's a very, very sad phenomena, and I'm very happy that they are there are rehabilitation centers for these animals that have been tortured by humans. Yes, yes, that's it. The animals do not get traumatized in natural environments. They only get traumatized in people's world, in laboratories and circuses, when people try to turn pets into domesticated animals. They have to push against their nature, and that's when trauma becomes long-term in animals. Otherwise, no animals in the nature have trauma. It's a very good question, a very good discussion. Thank you, Nadia. All right. Anything else? The lady in the picture is Jane Goodall. She's a very interesting lady. When she was in her 20s, she went to live in the Amazon with monkeys, with chimpanzees. She's the lady who speaks the language of the monkeys. She has very interesting YouTube videos. She has a very interesting documentary on Netflix. She has a very cool book about how we are so similar to animals, but also so different. It's a very interesting read if you get curious. Jane Goodall is a very interesting person to discover. Jane Goodall, I'm going to write it down here. Yes, thank you again. Yeah, yes, it's in the picture, Nadia. All right, so if there are no other questions, have a good rest of the week. Get the book, start reading. Don't wait till the next last minute. And I will see you next week for chapters 7, 8, and 9. All right. Be well. Take care. Bye bye.